In case you haven't heard, masculinity is in crisis. Young men apparently do not know how to be real men. Toxic masculinity is around every corner, and men are inundated with supposed role models in popular media, from superheroes to action stars who fall short of a masculine ideal for all. But there is hope. The new Superman film features a powerful but vulnerable lead who is allowed to be emotional and accept help from his friends. Mr. Terrific is extremely intelligent, but doesn't flaunt it in toxic ways and is always the coolest guy in the room. There's even Guy Gardner, an arrogant blowhard douchebag, but a team player who will always do the right thing when needed, plus Pa Kent, who's just a big old softie. These are all interesting and positive portrayals of not just superheroes, but of masculine heroes for a modern age. What about fantasy? Millions of men of every age are drawn to swords and sorcery and the men who wield them. Well, fellow men and masculine curious, I am here to give you my top 10 picks for men in fantasy who can be role models for you, for me, and for the younger generation of dice-rolling nerds. You may find some resonate more with you than others, and like men in real life, they do not all conform to one idea of masculinity. I encourage you to take this list in stride, think about what you agree and disagree with, and form your own opinion of what masculinity means to you and how you can emulate that in your fantasy writing, at your D&D table, and possibly even in real life. Gentlemen, let us begin. If we're talking fantasy, let's start with the proto-fantasy of the modern era, The Lord of the Rings. Sam immediately comes to mind as a supportive best friend who doesn't have to be the flashiest to be a hero. Frodo himself is an example of the value of kindness and resilience in the face of a hopeless existence. Legolas, Gimli, definitely Aragorn, and even Boromir all display very different and viable means of positive masculine behaviors. But for my number 10 pick,
you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission. Quest. Thing.
Well, that rules you out, kid.
Pippin is the least of the four hobbits, who are the least of the Fellowship. And yet, if Tolkien teaches us anything, it is that the meekest among us can still achieve the greatest of deeds. So let's look at this fool of a took. At least in the movies, Pippin's primary surface-level character trait is that he's kinda dumb, and that's okay. We've all had a friend who was kinda dumb, and if you didn't, then maybe you were the dumb friend, and I'm here to tell you that having the right answer all the time is an overrated and unreachable masculine ideal. Pippin is a bumbling village idiot pothead, but when he gets it wrong, he tries to make it right. Many of his mistakes come from a genuine curiosity about the fantastical world beyond the Shire, and that is not a flaw, but a virtue. It is good to be inquisitive about things you don't know about. Pippin listens to Treebeard and shows him what he needs to see to drive him towards action. Pippin takes responsibility for his mistake with the Palantir, rides with Gandalf to Minas Tirith, and becomes a soldier of Gondor. And when Denethor says that uniform was just a performative measure, Pippin says, no, to hell with that, I'm fighting with the tall boys. Pippin has one conversation with one sad bro and is immediately ride or die for him, willing to jump into fire to save his life when everyone else says he's already dead. Pippin is more than a dumb best friend. Pippin is brave. Pippin picks up on the details the smart ones miss. Pippin is a good time at parties and could steal your girl easier than stealing Farmer Maggot's mushrooms. Pippin is positive masculinity, but he's not our only example. Let's get even more classical. King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table are the ideal for paladins and arguably for the adventuring party itself. King Arthur has a ton of interpretations that Hollywood likes to shit out every 5 years or so, but my favorite controversial pick is the 2004 Clive Owen Arturius. But I'm not here to talk about that movie or its problems or even about Artorias and his virtues. This one goes to the strong and silent tertiary characters. This one goes to Dagonet is badass. Ray Stevenson is great at playing badasses, and I wish we would have gotten to see him go all out with his weird gray Jedi, but that's beside the point. Throughout the film, Dag says few words, but gets shit done. Despite being the scariest member of the group, he is the greatest comfort to this little boy. He is loyal to his king and his bros, and when they are faced with their toughest challenge, an absolutely iconic fight scene, even if you hate the rest of the movie, go watch this right now, Dag makes the ultimate move. This is not the Leroy Jenkins charge of some barbarian brute. This is the calculated 4D chess move of some barbarian brute that takes out the whole enemy unit and saves everyone else. I want to discourage you from martyrdom, but if you're gonna go out like that, the bar is here. You don't have to die like Dag to live like Dag. It is okay to be uncharismatic and have minor things to say, but have major impact. It is okay to be a big man who cares about small things. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a fantasy phenomenon that can get forgotten because it is, more so than anything else on this list, kid stuff. But I hope that millennial dads out there are rewatching the original series with their kids. Kids deserve good stories with good lessons, and The Last Airbender is an incredible story with some incredible boys figuring out how to transition into being proud young men. Aang is kind and silly, but with a wisdom beyond his years. Zuko is passionate and ambitious, but learns the shortcomings of honor. But sometimes subtlety is not the tool you need. Sometimes you need a ham-fisted example of how you should respect women.
I didn't know you were friends with the Avatar.
It's alright. I mean, normally I'd hold a grudge, but seeing as you guys are a bunch of girls, I'll make an exception.
I should hope so. A big, strong man like you? We wouldn't stand a chance.
True, but don't feel bad. After all, I'm the best warrior in my village.
Wow. Best warrior, huh? In your whole village. Maybe you'd be kind enough to give us a little demonstration.
Oh.
At the start of the series, Sokka is the portrait of the shortcomings of blindly following traditional masculinity without examining its meaning. He is trying to be the warrior chief of his tribe, and it's not going great. He continues to strive for this image even if it means being an asshole to his sister until he meets the Kyoshi warriors, who soundly put him in his place, and he absolutely relents. He pays them respect, learns from them, and utilizes their fighting style in future fights. He doesn't become less of a warrior by sacrificing his perfect vision of masculinity. He creates his own version of masculinity by continuing to be humble, be witty, and be a good friend. In a world of fire, earth, water, and air, it is okay to be a sword, and it is even okay to give up the sword and not be any less of a man because of it. You don't have to be a wise warrior king to be a hero. But also...
He leaves.
What's up? I never yielded! And as you can see, I am not dead!
T'Challa is a wise warrior king to a T. And yes, I started out this video by saying that I want to talk about fantasy and not superhero movies, but it's kind of hard to completely ignore superhero movies, and also, Black Panther is kind of more of a fantasy story than a typical superhero action movie. He is a king, given superpowers by a magical flower, and wears magical armor made from a magical rock, and there's ritual combat, and a fight in a tavern, and a magical dream sequence in another plane, and a guy riding a rhino into battle, and it's even got the Tolkien white guys. T'Challa has greatness thrust upon him, but rises to the occasion. He is relentlessly proficient as an athletic combatant with an old-world fighting style that fits better as a D&D monk than any kind of typical superhero RPG build. He is a bold leader, capable of making his own decisions, but is also mindful of the advice of the smart women around him, and he is capable of forming alliances with rivals and giving mercy to those who have wronged him. Quite frankly, if the crew behind the scenes could have figured out a way for T'Challa to afford that same mercy to their best and most sympathetic villain, then T'Challa would have been #1 on this list. Don't let superhero fatigue blind you to why these stories caught on in the first place. Don't let the wild discussion around Black Panther's impact and box office and Oscars distract you from the core of the movie, which is an absolutely terrific male character terrifically portrayed by a fine actor lost too soon. Rest in peace, Chadwick. You Give Black Panther a rewatch with fresh eyes and take notes for your next D&D game. Speaking of D&D, this is Delicious in Dungeon. It is a glorious slice of life anime about cooking monsters in a dungeon with friendship and magic. It is adorable, and I wish it had a little less blood so it didn't have a mature rating, so I could have shown it to my D&D after school club. But for an adult audience, the blood and occasional fan service only adds spice to the stew. And the best example of fan service is... This is Senshi. He is a typical fantasy dwarf. He is gruff and tough, stout and strong. He has an axe and a beard and a funny helmet. He also has a tragic backstory, which I won't spoil because you don't even know he has one until way late in the season. And because he's always just a nice dude who tags along with this lovable dork to save his sister because he can't cook for shit, and Senshi can, and doggone it if he ain't gonna teach this whippersnapper a thing or two about some good fucking food. Senshi is like the ultimate food channel dad. He is extremely knowledgeable, but shares his knowledge in an educational and friendly manner. He's not the best fighter or even the best dungeon explorer, but he rounds out the party in important ways, not the least of which is food. And look, most of us are not going to be in a grand melee or become a king. That is an inherent danger with selecting role models from fantasy. You and I will never be literally magical. But one thing you can do after this video is go down to your local grocery store or farmer's market, pick a protein you're comfortable with, pick some produce you've never cooked before, and grab some pasta or potatoes and go make your girl some dinner. Or surprise your game night bros with a home-cooked meal. Or just cook yourself something nice while you listen to your podcast. Everyone deserves good food. Embrace your inner grill dad and level up your game. Hayao Miyazaki has done more for fantasy than most of our 21st century faves. Most of his films feature fantastical settings and tend to place focus on a feminine protagonist who also has to deal with some magical sad boy or pathetic sidekick. But there is one masculine hero that immediately came to mind for this list. Ashitaka is young, capable, and incredibly daring. He protects his city from a boar but contracts a curse, and without hesitation accepts that he needs to disappear to find a cure. Throughout Princess Mononoke, he assesses the situation from as many perspectives as he can before choosing the course of action that causes the least harm and sticking to it. The term stoic is often misused in Sigma male discourse, but I think Ashitaka actually comes closest to embodying the harmony this perspective is trying to achieve. Ashitaka does have some standout speeches and action scenes, but the biggest highlight for me is probably this moment.
What do you think you're doing, boy?
Stay your hand. The girl's life is now mine.
Look, everyone! This is what hatred looks like. This is what it does when it catches hold of you. It's eating me alive, and very soon now it will kill me. As for me, I'm leaving, and I'm taking the wolf girl.
Where his judicious application of mercy causes both sides to stop fighting, but he still recognizes that San is the aggrieved party and works to protect her in particular. There is a romantic interpretation of future events, but when Ashitaka tells San she is beautiful, for me it reads as an acknowledgement of her humanity, that she is not some dirty thing made for violence, but a human being who deserves to be saved. The restored balance and hope for healing that is created in the film's conclusion doesn't come down to one big kill, but rather the choice to be one girl's friend. My subscribers should know by now that BioWare games, and particularly the Dragon Age series, have had a major impact on me in the way I make my own fantasy worlds and characters. I like all of the games, even that one, and there are plenty of complex male companions with positive masculine traits worthy of emulation. But for my BioWare example, I actually want to cheat a little and go to space fantasy. You'll forgive me for cheating because my next pick is...
I am Urdnot Rex, and this is my planet!
For those of you who haven't played the Mass Effect series, this is a Krogan. They are a race of sentient, heavily armored battletoads who essentially fulfill the role of space orcs, twisted and bred for war by the more advanced races, before those same alien races condemn them to the genophage, which nerfs their breeding and is slowly killing the species, while the Krogans continue to survive as mercenary elites of every space crime syndicate and contributing nothing to the advancement of the Krogan planet of Tuchanka, a dying nuclear wasteland. Now imagine if an orc actually stood up and said enough is enough and sought to change all of that. Urdnot Rex eats thermal clips for breakfast without the milk. Urdnot Rex doesn't do push-ups, he does Tuchanka downs. Urdnot Rex takes no shit and shows no mercy. He is a battlemaster mercenary who doesn't need fancy tech or biotic powers to beat you and your band of goons in a fight. And yet, he becomes a wise wizard to his people. He sees the destruction wrought by the toxic culture of the Krogans, and he will see them to a brighter future through tough love, the only love the Krogan culture can understand. In his own tough love manner, he steps up, becomes the leader of his planet, and demands that they all do better. Throughout his change, he doesn't stop being a badass brawler. If you want to get through Citadel DLC on Insanity difficulty like its easy mode, bring Rex with you, equip the Claymore, and stand back as he plows through your enemies. And if you want better leaders, sometimes you have to be like Rex and step the fuck up. I adore the Stormlight Archive. It is an inscrutably large series of 5 massive books that is going to eventually be 10 massive books, but let us remember, journey before destination. There are loads of brilliantly layered characters written by the talented and pretty cool guy himself, Brandon Sanderson. You have the clinically depressed Kaladin, who becomes the heroic warrior leader up until a certain point when he might become something very different without sacrificing his values. You have Dalinar Kholin, who, holy shit, can kind of be his own video, but let's just say he's my favorite character, but not going on this list because he has some pretty complicated flaws that take some time and discretion to address. Plus, he has too much in common with someone later on this list. If there is one pure golden boy to talk about, it's this guy, Adolin Kholin. What, you ask? This list is supposed to feature different takes on masculinity. Why would I feature this blonde pretty boy quarterback jock type? Chief among the people who would disagree with this pick is Adolin himself, who would prefer to hype up his little brother Renarin. But then if I listened to Renarin, he would start crying and say that he doesn't deserve this because his big brother is the best boy. So I'm siding with Renarin and picking Adolin. Adolin is the good guy who really is just that good, despite his issues. He is a duelist who will kick your ass, but he will give you a hand up afterwards and applaud your technique. He is frustrated by the flaws of his father, but still stands by him, speaking up and listening when he needs to. He faces adversity and has quite a few major setbacks, but he keeps fighting, not because he is set in his ways, but because he is willing to change, adapt to the changing world around him, and still come out with a smile. Adolin is both a supportive brother and a bro. He is both a fuckboy and a wife guy, and he loves his sword more than any fictional swordsman I have ever witnessed. He is funny, he is charming, he is more than a bit of a foppish fashionista dandy. He has noble ideals, but will also pull the most insane move which contradicts those ideals and yet is also the best thing that anyone could have done given the circumstances, and we simply must stand. Adolin is the handsome, rich boy knight in shining armor we were often warned not to idealize, and yet he is portrayed so perfectly that I am begging you to read Stormlight and idealize this man. I like One Piece. A lot. There are at least 100 fine specimens of manliness I could choose from this cast, all different, all great, all admirable, and some admirals. But this isn't a top 100 One Piece boys video. This is my top 10 fantasy men video, and I'm choosing one man from One Piece. That man is... If you are a One Piece fan, you are either cheering and fist pumping in the air, or you shut off the video. If you are not a One Piece fan, you are wondering what kind of move I am pulling here. After all, this is...
Oh my. Another very sexy lady with super big bazongas.
Look, it's a whole thing. This is the son of Kaido, Yamato. He takes baths in the men's room. Luffy calls him Yama-bro. If you don't think Yamato is a man, cool for you, but you cannot be Luffy's Nakama. Sorry not sorry, those are the rules. And yes, I know about the Weaver card book that regularly has lore discrepancies in it, so if that is your justification, then you take orders from Akainu. Get off my ship. Trans men are men, and they don't have to match your standards or mine for what a man should look like in order to be a real man. The same applies to all men. Any size, any shape. You too can be a worthy warrior of the sea. Yamato might be more of a man than you or me because Yamato at every step in his journey declares exactly what he is going to be, even if everyone else is against him, and what he chooses to be is an anti-fascist, anti-patriarchy freedom fighter, even if it means fighting his own dad, the scariest man in the world, for the sake of the downtrodden people of Wano. Yamato is, importantly, the best example on this list of someone who looks to a list of male role models and learns the right lessons. He wants to be like Odin, but he also picks up lessons from the rebel samurai and from Ace. Yamato forges his own path, but doesn't burn the good people around him to do so. Yamato is a hero, and I don't think we've seen the best of what he has to offer. And with number 2 out of the way, it's time to talk about the best I have to offer, the peak of positive masculinity from a phenomenal piece of fantasy for all ages. No preamble needed. Let's dive right in.
I'm begging you, Prince Zuko. It's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big questions. Who are you? And what do you want?
Yes, The Last Airbender is represented on this list twice. I almost had Zuko on this list too. The character work on that show is just that good. I apologize to the Avatar fans who have been watching this in simmering rage for the last few minutes, wondering why I didn't talk about Iroh at all when I talked about Sokka. I hope you'll forgive me, because this is why. Iroh is my number 1 pick. Iroh has it all. He is not only gifted with incredible fire magic, but hones his natural abilities to a fine art, and manages to not only use the seemingly strictly offensive firebending defensively, but teaches this method to his troubled teen nephew. Iroh's teaching is a major part of his character, and you don't have to be a dad to teach good lessons to young men. It takes a village to raise a child, and I hope your village has at least one Iroh in it. If it doesn't, then congrats. You're the Iroh now. Go learn how to make tea and learn how to reflect on your mistakes in a way that doesn't make you wallow in self-victimization, but makes you a beacon of wisdom for those around you who you do not want to make the same mistakes you did. Also, can we talk about how Iroh is canonically a board game geek? Dude has an encyclopedic memory of a strategy board game with collectible pieces played by a bunch of other grognards, and yet he's not a pompous dick about being a chess whiz or whatever, he just likes games. And the dude's got game too, and while it's usually a gag in anime or anime adjacent properties to have the horny grandpa flirting with the young ladies, with Iroh, I 100% buy it. Iroh can tell a joke and give a compliment. He's chubby and short and has a bald spot, but he carries himself with confidence, and yet, when he has to, he can get his pump on. He is a badass but not invincible. He is loving but not incapable of putting Zuko in his place. He is loyal to his people but recognizes the flaws in his nation and his culpability in those flaws, and still puts in the work to make amends and do the right thing. Iroh makes me want to lift weights, play a board game, and take my partner to tea in the garden. Iroh makes me want to never stop improving myself as a man and keep sharing tips with you guys. Iroh makes me want to stay cheerful in a world that can seem overwhelmingly cruel at times, but can never break your spirit as long as you adapt and learn how to look ahead to being a better man tomorrow than you were yesterday, not because the younger generation is watching, but because you want to be a better man for you. So, That's my top 10 fantasy men. I had a few honorable mentions and tough cuts to make, but I'd rather chat with you in the comments about them. Who did I miss? Who are your picks that I may have never heard of? Let me know down below, and consider giving this video a share to your bros as inspiration before you make your next party of manly fantasy men. Until next time, have a nat 20 day. Bye bye.